your calling may have something to do with your background. Hi, I'm Dr. Chuck Day. I want to talk to you about something I saw in 2 Samuel chapter 7. Now, in that chapter, David has this great idea to build God a house, and he tells it to the prophet Nathan, and Nathan says, God is with you, do whatever's in your heart. But later that night, God says to Nathan, no, I didn't ask for this. And he goes back to David and he says these words from God that he says, did I ever ask anyone that ever came before you to build me a house? Now, this is going to verse 7. And he uses an interesting word that all the different translations struggle with. And it says this, did I ever speak to any of the tribes of Israel that I commanded to feed my people? Or others say judges, others say other things. Because the word there is staff. It is the word shavet. And the idea is that is it talking about, it is a word that can be used for a tribe, but it's actually a shepherd's staff. And it can be used for lots of things. You can use it to beat people with. You can use it to shepherd sheep. You can use it as a standard that's for the tribe. And so normally we see that word a lot of times used for tribes. But other translations like the ESV think it's just a mistake for the word shafet, which means a judge, which is used later on down in the verses. But I think this is wordplay, because the word to shepherd and the word staff together go with David, because in verse 8 he says, I took you from the sheepfolds, I took you from following after the sheep. And he's saying, I've called you to shepherd my people. I've called you as a staff, as a shepherd's staff, to be the shepherd of the people. And I think it's interesting that God calls a shepherd to shepherd. In the same way that Peter's a fisherman, he calls a fisherman to be a fisher of men. And I want to ask you, what is it that you have been, and can God use that as a metaphor for something He's called you to be, something He's called you to do for His kingdom? That somehow, whatever your job is, if you're a carpenter, He's called you to build something. We've heard that metaphor with Jesus even. But maybe, you're called to, from the sports field. You're called from baking, whatever the thing is that God has called you to do, something that you have that background that God uses as the metaphor for how He wants to guide you in serving Him. I find it interesting that when David sins with Bathsheba a couple of chapters later, that when Nathan confronts him, he confronts him with the story of a man that has a little sheep that the neighbor takes. And David is so into that story that he blurts out his own judgment. That man deserves to die. And I'm saying to you, God wants to speak to you through your own point of reference. God wants to speak to you about who He's called you to be based on who you've been. Think about that, pray about that, and let God guide you.